if I asked you to find this, f of x is 3x minus 4, and g of x is 2x squared minus 1. When I say find f plus g of 0, what does that mean? So we have two options. We can take the actual equations for f and g, add those together, and then plug in 0. Or probably the easier option is we can plug 0 into each of them and then add those answers together. So f of 0, if you plug a 0 into f, 3 times 0 minus 4, you get negative 4. G of 0, if you plug a 0 into g, 2 times 0 is 0, minus 1 is negative 1. So we have negative 4 plus negative 1, which is negative 5. All right, so f minus g of 4. What do I do? Plug a 4 into each of them and then subtract those answers. So if I plug a 4 into f, I get 12 minus 4, so that's 8, minus g of 4. I plug a 4 into g. So that's 16 times 2 is 32. Minus 1, so that's 31. And 8 minus 31 is negative 23. Why don't you guys do C and D? Guys get negative 70. And D, if we plug a 3 into F, we get 9 minus 4, which is 5, over 3 squared is 9, times 2 is 6, or sorry, 9 times 2 is 18, minus 1 is 17. So 5 over 17. All right, so any issues evaluating those functions like that? We need to talk about the domain of these things. When you add, subtract, or multiply, the domain is the overlap of the domains of the original functions. Okay, what that tells me, when I add, subtract, or multiply, the domain will be the same every time. And what I have to do is look at the two originals, find everything that could be in both of those, and that's in my final domain. When we divide, you have to take the overlap of the original domains, so the same, we start out the same as adding, subtracting, and multiplying, and exclude any values making the denominator 0. So it starts out the same as the other domains, but we also have to make sure that the denominator isn't going to turn into 0. So let's look at an example where we have to give the domains. This will probably be the last one I do today. So here are my functions. F of x is the square root of 4x minus 1. G of x is x divided by x minus 3. I need to find each of these and give their domain. So it's not the same as the first ones because I'm not plugging in a number. I just want f plus g of x. So we just do f of x plus the g of x. Now, if there are like terms, you're expected to combine them, but do we have any here? No. I mean, we could, get a common denominator and make one fraction, but it's not really necessary here. We can leave it like this. So we found the f plus g, but now we have to do the domain. For the domain, we are going to look at each of these original domains. So if you have a square root, what's true about the thing underneath? It has to be positive, greater than or equal to 0. So it has to be greater than or equal to 1/4. If you have a fraction, how do you find the domain? What do you know about a fraction? So that one can't be 3. When I add them, my domain is the overlap of those two things. In other words, this one says it's got to be bigger than 1/4. This one says we'll take everything except 3. So everything smaller than 3, everything bigger than 3. What's the overlap of my number line? What numbers get shaded by both of those? Everything from 1/4 to 3. We have to put a parenthesis on the 3 because the second one you can't have a 3. Union, we can also take everything bigger than 3. So when finding the domain, we have to take each of those originals. Now, if the originals both were just polynomials, so no fractions, no radicals, what would your domain be? Negative infinity, positive infinity. So if they're polynomials, we don't have to worry. We have to watch out for the fractions and the radicals. So f minus g. F is the square root of 4x minus 1. Minus g is x over x minus 3. Again, we don't have any like terms, so we're done. The domain of that, we don't really have to do any work because I told you when you add, subtract, and multiply, the domain is the same. So my domain is the same as we already found. Okay. F times g. So f is the square root of 4x minus 1 times g, which is x over x minus 3. multiply those things? We can put them together, can't we? This is just like over 1, so if you multiply the tops, you have x times the square root of 4x minus 1. On the bottom, 1 times x minus 3 is just x minus 3. So there's my multiplication. Okay. Do I have to do any work to find the domain? No, we already know it's the same as the others. So it's the 1/4 to 3 union 3 to infinity. Okay, last example for the day. F divided by G. So F is the square root of 4x minus 1 divided by x over x minus 3. Is it proper notation to leave a fraction divided by a fraction? No. How do we solve that? What do we do? Flip and multiply. So first the top stays the same times, then you flip the bottom. So then if we multiply the top, I'm just going to leave it as x minus 3 times the square root of that over the bottom. Doesn't look real pretty, but we simplified it. The domain, is it the same as the others? No. It starts out the same, but I have to take out anything that will make the bottom 0. So look at your final answer. What makes the bottom 0? So x can't be 0. Now, if you're bigger than 1/4, do we have to worry about that? No. So this one, it does turn out to be the same. But if I had, for instance, the bottom couldn't be 5, then we would have to take that out.